Hey everyone, my name's Tim, and I finished reading Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. Now, what I had originally proposed, and what I had done, was I had filmed like a little vlog of me reading it, and I did it in intro, and then I went to my past self, and then I put all the bits together, and then I put my bit at the end where I went on a bit of a rant and went a bit insane. And I went, cool, let's combine them. And I had like 12 different bits of footage all combined together. And I'd gone in and updated each video, say part 1, part 2, part 3, put a little thing on there and spent, I don't know, an hour editing it all together on my phone. And then I clicked save and it went, I can't. And I clicked save again, it went file corrupted and everything's just gone. Everything's just gone. So, here is another attempt at reviewing The Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. I'm going to do a little bit and then go into spoilers. So, I think, one sentence, it's 500 pages long. The last 100 pages are quite interesting and engaging, and there's a big twist at the end. The previous 400 pages are some of the worst writing I have ever read. So I gave it 1 star, and I will not be reading any sequels. That's the quick summary. Some things that I didn't like about the book. The world building. So this is a fantasy book. You got dragons. People ride dragons. They get cool magical tattoos. They're in a war that's been going on for 600 years against people who ride griffins. Dragons beat griffins. Dragons are cooler than griffins. Dragons can fly, griffins can fly. Dragons are bigger, dragons are stronger, dragons breathe fire. Dragons give them magic powers. What do the griffins got? Nothing. We don't even see that they have many more of them. We don't see any of that. In this book, we see hardly anything of the war itself that they are training for. So, don't like that. Next thing about the world building. This school, it's a school, teaching people to be dragon riders. Dragons are like the most valuable asset in their army in this war. For some reason, they decided it was going to be so you would need the best of the best to do this. They've also decided it's going to be like a penal colony for the children of previous rebels. Why would you give people who have a great reason to hate the Dragon Empire the equivalent of nuclear weapons? Why would you give them the most powerful asset in your army? Why? Hey, these people might be a bit distrustworthy. What should we do with them? Give them dragons. Terrible idea. And I don't know anything. The author, I can imagine, went, oh, well, I want this to be really rough, because you don't know if she's going to make it, because that's going to be a key source of tension, is that people die all the time. Thing is, nobody who dies you care about until pretty close towards the end. Most of the time you learn the character's name is even after they've died. You hear the cracking of a neck. Oh man, that was Lucian. I don't know. That's it. Or you hear the character's name for the first time, and then the next sentence they get killed. So you don't care about any of these characters at all. Next thing that I didn't like in this rant, the world. So they have the months of the year. They have our months of the year. They have our days of the week. This is a completely secondary world. There is no Thor. There is no Odin. There is no Freya. There is no sun. There is no moon. But they have Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. There's no Saturn, but they have Saturday. Basics. Next. In this school, they have different challenges, and the challenges are like, oh my god, if we fail this, we're gonna die. That's what they say, but that's very rarely the case. The first challenge to even get into the school is you have to walk in a line over a bridge. It's a very small bridge. I don't think they ever really describe how big the bridge is. And it's windy. Ooh! Really? That's the thing? That's the thing they do on like the first day of I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. These aren't people who are training to be dragon riders. These are people who have been on Corrie and Emmerdale, and they're managing to do this. What other challenges are there? Second challenge they have is Ninja Warrior. It's just Ninja Warrior. I can't remember if they need to go sideways and then up at the end, or if it's just up a cliff. I think they go up a cliff, but it's like Ninja Warrior up a cliff. And someone dies. Oh no! Someone dies who we don't care about. Then the next challenge is called something like The Procession. And this is completely different to the other challenges. They have to walk in a line. Only this time, dragons are watching them. Dragons might burn people for no reason. Oh no, the dragon has burned someone. Was it someone we care about? No. Just a random person. Then you get a thing called threshing. Now this is the thing that was built up right at the start of the book. They were like, oh my god, you're going to go be a dragon rider. You got to worry about threshing. Make sure you get through threshing. And then they talk about everyone has like a scar from threshing. And Violet, the main character, doesn't get a scar from threshing. That's something that's just dropped. Yeah, threshing is the bit where you get bonded to a dragon. That's really big. That's in the middle of the book. I thought that was the climax of the book, because that's the thing they've been building up to. It's like in Lord of the Rings, when they say, oh, you've got the One Ring. You need to take it to Rivendell. And they get to Rivendell and they go, oh yeah, actually you've got to go to Mordor. Like, just the setting up, the foreshadowing was completely not about the second half of the book. It was about threshing. So you get to threshing in the middle of the book. Then they just need to come up with other stuff for the rest of the year for them to do. Because this happens in like November, and I'm guessing they start in September time. But yeah, happens like 3 months into her year at the school. So what are they going to do the rest of the time? They do a bit of flying lessons, and then this is when time really jumps as well. They do some flying lessons. They do a bit of wrestling on the mat. They do that in the first part of the year. That's quite a source of tension for the first part, because she's very physically frail. But again, she finds a way, and she actually ends up being like one of the best, even though she's really weak. Which is fine. It's a bit Mary Sue-ish, but whatever. So they need to come up with new challenges for the second half of the year. So one of them is, they call it like battle games or something like that. And you don't really know what it is, because it just kind of happens. But the main part, the whole chapter about, is a treasure hunt in the school for something really valuable. Ooh. What happens if you win? Do you get something good? No. What happens if you get a patch? You get a patch, like you're a girl guide. What happens if you lose? Do you die? No, you just don't get a patch. Whatever. Don't care. Whatever. Then there's a final thing, which are like war games, which I think is different from battle games. And then you get the climax of the book, is that part there. There are events throughout the school year. I'm going to call it a school year, which are meant to add tension. And you only get tension from the wrestling, because she sees someone kill someone and it's like, oh my god, they're going to kill me. And she actually loses her first fight really badly and gets really hurt. So you're threatened by that. And then you get like a montage of her suddenly kicking ass at that. And then you get tension from threshing, because that's the thing they've built up to. Any of the school stuff in the second half of the book, no tension at all. You're just like, oh, here's the thing we're doing. We're doing flying lessons, and I keep falling off. And you're like, oh my god, but my dragon can keep me on. I'm saying, no, don't use your energy to save me. I can save myself. And then I fall off, but he saves me. He saves me. He saves me. if he can save you, then there's no tension. Right, let's move on to the characters. You've got Violet Sorrengail. Great fantasy name. She's a pretty good protagonist, actually. She's productive, she's driven, she has a big change because she starts and she doesn't want to be a rider, and in the end she really wants to be a rider. She finds a way around her disability, which is good, and she's kind of smart. She's actually an okay character, apart from one thing that affects all the characters. The next we have Xaden Ryerson. He's brooding and handsome and dark, and no one understands him, and he's got a dark past. And from page 18, you meet him, and the description is so raunchy. From the first thing, his muscles ripple first time she meets him, and he's one of the children of the rebellion. And her mother squashed the rebellion and killed his parents and all the other parents. So it's like, ooh, a source of tension. And then one thing they have at the beginning is when she's about to do the walk across the bridge, they're like, oh, make sure, it's going to be hard. Make sure no one knows who your parents are. And they call her by her surname. So that tension is immediately gone. Everyone knows who her parents are because they call her by her surname. Done. Tension. Gone. There's no she has to hide who she is. He just knows immediately. Anyway, he is brooding and handsome and unknown, and every time he is mentioned, there's Xaden does something. Oh, my pulse quickens. Oh, I feel hot. Oh, I'd like to be there next to him. Or, he looks at me with a curved smile. Curved smile is mentioned 50 times in the book. A curved smile. He looks at me with his onyx eyes flecked with gold. Oh, I feel it down to my... every single time he does anything, there is a sentence following how she feels horny about it. But otherwise, he has no... You see their relationships grow and develop, and it's obvious that he is going to be the one that she's from the start. Then you have the third main character, and I would say the only three characters that really get any proper time is Dane. Dane is like the other boy in the triangle. He has 2 lines of dialogue in the book, and just repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat. It's too dangerous here, Violet. You're going to die. I care about you. I don't want you to get hurt. You need to stop this. You can't do it. So that's one. And then, well, that couldn't happen. That's against the rules. I couldn't do that. That's against the rules. No way would that happen. That's against the rules. That's all. Those are the 2 things that he says throughout the whole book. And every interaction is him mainly talking about one. Line 1, Violet, I've signed you up with the scribes. You can't do this. I'm going to sneak you out. Oh, now you've got a dragon and everyone is like, you're now the best. But it's really dangerous because everyone's going to be out to get you because you're the best. Oh, you're now going to graduate. You've won this challenge and you've won this challenge. But people, it's still really dangerous. She has proven herself. Get with the program, Dane. And he has no character development at all. He is the same at the start of the book, at the end of the book. He does something at the end of the book, which you only kind of find out about in a weird way, which would be interesting, but you don't see him do it. It just happens and you kind of figure it out afterwards and you don't really get where he's coming from with it. But yeah, he's not a character. He's a robot. And he's like the 3rd most developed character. Now, we've done the kind of plot, we've done the world. So the romance side says that there's a bit with her and Dane, but she doesn't really feel it. And then it's all about Xaden, and they get it on, and they get it on. Now this is everything I've said about this. Every time you read it, you feel like the characters are 14, 15. It feels so YA. But they're all in their 20s. So there's this, but with swearing and sex. And everyone is so horny in this book. This is like, oh, here's the pool boy kind of horny. And the descriptions of the relationships are there's a couple of scenes which are very graphic. And it's erotica. It's just erotica. And that's not really something that I like to read. But it's like, oh my God. But hey, if you like that, that's fine. But this is, the average age of a user on TikTok is like 16. So, but everyone is so horny, but everyone acts like they're 15. So it's like someone is really hurt and they're in hospital and they've got a broken arm and they're like struggling to live, and everyone's like, oh man, she's so hot. And it's like, no one thinks like that. They're like, well, these riders, they don't know if they're gonna die tomorrow, so they're just gonna try and get some. No, they'd be focused on trying to survive. It's very hard to read because everyone talks like they're 13, 14, 15, but they think that's how adults talk. It's a bit like Jay from The Inbetweeners, how he talks about sex. It's like that. But everyone is like that. Everyone is like how horny they are in The Inbetweeners. I think that's a reasonable analogy there. Yeah, it just makes it very hard to read. And that's the final thing for me in this very long rant is the prose is some of the worst prose I've ever read in a book. Comically bad. So you have repeated lines of dialogue and certain phrases. So they use the word badass. Oh man, all the Dragon Riders are so badass. I look so badass. You're so badass. You did really well at that. Man. Oh, you gotta watch out for him. He's a badass. At one point, it's just so bad. What else have you got? You've got terrible mixed metaphors right at the start. You have the way he looks at me. I feel flush with heat and warmth and a shiver run down my spine. How shiver means cold. Heat means hot. Mixed metaphor. Really mixed metaphor. What else? You've got the line about Xaden. Every time he does anything, you then get a line or two about how horny Violet Sorrengail is. It just repeats and repeats and repeats and repeats. Oh, Xaden's walked into a room. Oh, I feel so warm and mushy. Oh, Xaden picked up a pencil. And then at one point they can like psychically talk to each other and it's even worse. So repetitive. You also have at the beginning, because it's all told in first person, present tense. So you have at the beginning some of the clunkiest exposition I have ever read in a book. So I read a self-published book this year, and it had, this is how we learn the world's history, because again it was in first person, I think. And it was, she goes to a school and she has a history lesson about the world. And it's in like chapter 2. And it's like, wow, this is clunky. But it's hard. It's hard to figure out how to tell the reader about stuff that the character already knows. What this person does, what Violet Sorrengail does, in times of stress, she just tells you facts about the world. She just tells you where mountains are, and where cities are, and history of the world, and all of the world building that the writer has done. It is embarrassingly bad. It is, and she does it, I think she does it 2 or maybe 3 times in the book. So she doesn't do it regularly enough that it's a clear character trait. If she did it really, really regularly, or focusing on her house and this is what my bedroom looked like, this is what key things that are important to me look like. Instead, she's like, oh, the Panama Canal goes through Panama, and it borders Costa Rica, and why are you just telling facts about the world? Imagine if someone was like, what do you do in times of stress? Well, what I do is I think about where everything is in the world. That's what I do in times of stress. It's so unbelievable. It's so unbelievable. this has been a bit of a rant. I think you can tell. I gave this book 1 star. The ending, you have a big dragon fight at the end. That's cool. I wanted more of that. That you have a big twist on who the real bad guy is. It's very, very lightly foreshadowed, but not foreshadowed enough. It's foreshadowed so poorly that you get a whole lore dump just as it's happening. They're fighting these guys, and they're like, well, as you know, Violet, from the stories, that there were this, and this, and this, and these are the guys that are left. They were just a fairy story. And it's like, you could have... There were opportunities for you to have that lore earlier on, especially when she's interested in these fictional creatures, what she thinks are fictional creatures, beforehand. So, and I don't understand why they're so powerful. I don't understand why 4 of them can take out a dozen dragons. I don't see that at all. A dozen dragons ridden by people with magic powers. I don't see the power imbalance. Yeah, so I feel bad about hating a book so much, and the more I've thought about it, the more I really dislike it, because I think it's so poorly executed from a fundamental word choice level, and it's 500 pages, and it does not need to be that long, and it's become incredibly popular, and there's lots of really good books out there that are really well written, with really good characters, and a really strong world, and a really tight plot that doesn't drag, and really good prose that doesn't repeat itself ad nauseum. And they're not getting what they need. They're not getting sales, they're not getting coverage, because everyone is talking about this dross. Now, if you're still here, I'm okay. I'm a bit angry because I did loads of work on a video and it all got deleted. And this one might be deleted as well, because of how long it is. But if you do like this book, I don't judge you for it. I don't dislike you for it. My sister-in-law, this is one of her favourite books. She was like, Tim, you need to read this. She bought it for me for my birthday. She's like, it's just incredible. I just can't stop thinking about it. That's okay. That's okay. I just really didn't like it. And I'm disliking it so much that I gave it 1 star, and I very rarely give books 1 star. And I'm so subjective in my thoughts of dislike for it, but that I think they are objective. You know what I mean? When you're like, this is just fundamentally true. It's probably not. It's probably just me. I'm not the target audience. But the target audience in this would be, I think, someone who likes reading romance, someone who doesn't read very much fantasy, someone who probably read the Throne of Glass series. That seems like a continuation of this trend of fantasy settings with not great world building that end up being very romance heavy into the erotica. Yeah. Oh, I need to lie down. Anyway, hopefully this video goes up, and as you can tell, I read Fourth Wing, and I think I went insane. Anyway, look after yourselves. Get out of my house!